Day one of testing is in the books at the NFL Combine. We have that and news next on the Unbearable Sports Podcast.
We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice long
Welcome
hair.
back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe so you do not miss a Chicago Bears update this week. We'll keep you up to date with what is going on at the NFL Combine this week. Also, rate 5 stars everywhere you get your podcast. What is going on? I hope you enjoyed watching the first day of the Combine. I always love it. It's such a fun, I absolutely enjoy it. I love sitting down, just watching all the different drills that are taking place. But we have a lot to go through. I want to go through some risers, some fallers, also some of the news that we may have missed today as we are watching what was going on at Indy. So let's start things off with what's next up. So what we know that's going to happen next for the NFL Combine today was defensive tackles, defensive ends, and linebackers. And then on Friday, defensive backs and tight ends. So we've gone through some of those on the preview shows. Lots and lots of safeties that the Bears can be targeting, but also these tight ends. Literally anything could happen. The Bears have talked to Brock Bowers. The Bears have talked to Tavion Sanders from Texas. They've talked to a whole bunch of different people. The tight ends watch everyone that's out there. But we have to talk a little bit about some of the news that wasn't specific to the NFL Combine. Just a couple different things that were floating around that we just have to address. Starting with one thing, Brad Spielberger has now predicted, the cap expert out there, predicts that Jalen will be tagged by the Chicago Bears. Now, remember, he is the person that called the Montez Sweat stuff. I trust when Brad says something, it usually means that he knows what's going on. So my take is maybe there is just a separation between Jalen Johnson and what Ryan Poles is offering. So with that, it just makes sense. Why not tag him? And yeah, basically Jalen won't be going anywhere anytime soon. Also, too, if you're out on Twitter or X, there's a bunch of random tweets that Justin Fields was traded to Atlanta, and it's already solidified. These are from very unreliable sources. There was one that was from a Barstool employee, so that kind of has some ground, but you look at a lot of it, and it's all just these random Twitter accounts, so don't get sucked into it. But just in case, if anyone was curious, they were saying that it was a swap for the 8 and 9 pick, and the Bears would get the 43rd pick, so that second-round pick. So, yeah, but just don't get sucked into it. Wait until Ian Rappaport and all those other people report on that. But speaking of just what's going on with the Bears, the quarterback in the first pick, Ian Rappaport said today, which I thought was very interesting. He said, I have not yet talked to any team, one, willing to make that happen, talking about the trade up to the number 1 spot, or two, that believes they can. It surely seems that the Bears are heading in the direction of taking Caleb Williams at 1. So that was actually something that I wanted to talk a little bit about, that it interested me that Ian Rappaport didn't feel like anyone's really willing to go up to that number 1 spot to make that thing happen, or that the Bears would even want that to happen because of the price that they're asking for. And also, I forgot who it was. Someone went on to the CHGO podcast and talked about that he's kind of curious what the Justin Fields trade market is, and he doesn't believe that it's that big, that they might just get a third, and that doesn't really look good on polls if you were to trade Fields away for a third, who's very well respected in the locker room. So lots of craziness that's going on. It feels like both the number 1 pick and Justin Fields right now, as of today, right? Everything goes up and down in this crazy world of being a Chicago Bears fan, but it seems like now the temperature is everything's low cost right now. So yeah, tomorrow everything might change, or hopefully we at least get some more direction on what the heck is actually going to be happening. But let's actually talk some Combine, since it's already been 5 minutes into the show. Let's break down some of the winners and the losers. And defensive tackles were fun. And a lot of the people that we did call out were people that did pretty darn well. 5 people that I do want to talk about today. And this doesn't mean that they were the biggest performers. Most of them are. But the 5 people I really want to talk about, Byron Murphy, the second, Tavondre Sweat, Braden Fisk from Florida State, Darius Robinson, and Chris Jenkins. Let's get right into this because the first one I want to talk about, if you haven't already seen, Braden Fisk, the defensive tackle from Florida State, dominated the combine, has a RAS score of 9.92, unofficial just because he still needs to bench, but basically this guy just went crazy. At 31-inch arm length is not great, but he made up for it with a 6'4" height, so very tall, but also had a 33.5-inch vertical, 909 broad, and a 40-yard dash of 478. Just was absolutely cooking it out there. And when I'm watching the drills, this guy just has some incredible athleticism. And we talked about this before, that this is kind of what we expected. He is a very high athlete at the defensive tackle position, and that's exactly what he does. This is what he did at the Senior Bowl, and this is what he's doing right now, turning a lot of heads and really, really rising up a lot of these draft boards because he's just a very, very twitchy athlete at the defensive tackle position. Also, weighed in at 292, so still has some size to him. Like we know, he's tall. He's got, he's not breaking that 300 mark, but still very fast, very twitched up. But the next person I want to talk about, Darius Robinson. He was a defensive end, and he tested with the defensive ends. But if you look at his RAS score at the D tackle position, it screams defensive tackle. Now, the relative athletic score, the math bomb guys over there, their website was having all sorts of issues, so I wasn't able to actually have him as a defensive end. But when I was watching him, he strikes me as a defensive tackle. He was playing with the other defensive ends, and he does seem a little tick slow as defensive end, but as defensive tackle, amazing. A 9.64 RAS score, ran an unofficial, ran a 4.95 40 time. So yet again, not good from a defensive end spot, but decent. I mean, still not amazing from a defensive tackle perspective, but still good. 35-inch vertical jump, 173 10-yard split. So overall, had very, very good numbers, was 6'5", 285. So yet again, light at the defensive tackle spot, heavy at the defensive end spot. Now with the new defensive coordinator, do the Bears like some of these tweeners at the defensive line spot, like a DeMarcus Walker? That to me is going to be a big question. The Bears did interview Darius Robinson, so he could be on their board. But let's continue on with another one. Chris Jenkins. I know one of you out there said down in the comments that Chris Jenkins, and very good call. Chris Jenkins, elite 9.55 RAS score, and 2, during the drills, looked very good at the defensive tackle spot. He's out of Michigan, ran a 4.91 40 time, vertical of 30 inches. Also, he hasn't benched yet, but I guarantee you that's going to be big. Also, 34-inch arms, which is a good size for a defensive tackle that's 6'2". So Chris Jenkins also very fluid in these drills and also tested very well. Very, very, very good day for Chris Jenkins. But let's go over to these Texas Longhorn defensive tackles. And Byron Murphy, to me, was honestly the most impressive. Because you see, like Braden Fisk, we knew that he was going to be quick. But Byron Murphy, to me, just kind of demonstrated. I think that Johnny Newton from Illinois lost a lot of stock today because he should have been out there playing. Now, he had an injury, so he could not be out there. But not being there really hurt. Now, the pro day will hopefully he can test and kind of show what he's capable of. But Byron Murphy had a 9.08 RAS score so far, but also he's short, measured in at 6 feet tall, but his weight 297, so he's very compact, and just the way he moves is just a thing of beauty. You see him gliding out there, and he's got that low center of gravity, and he can hit them right underneath the jaw. 488 40-yard dash, 167 10-yard split, which is very good for a defensive tackle. Really does seem like he's solidifying himself as that D tackle one on a lot of people's boards. But the last defensive tackle, I want to talk about the other tackle, the other D tackle, T'Vondre Sweat. We've talked about his weight problems. He comes in, and at Texas, he was listed at 365, comes in listed at 366. So he kind of weighed in at his proper weight, but still, that is huge. That is absolutely gigantic at the defensive tackle spot, 6'4", 366. And I thought that he did pretty well. His official 40 time, I believe, was a 5.27. I think it stayed that as a 5.27, which doesn't seem great. And you see his RAS score at 3.9. But if you compare him to other kind of nose tackle, big body guys like Eddie Goldman, his RAS score, 2.01. Height was 6'4", 336. So he had an entire 30 pounds on him and ran about the same 40-yard dash. Eddie Goldman with the 5.28. But also DJ Reader, very similar, but 327 pounds. Also known for being a big guy, but also ran a 5.33. So to me, I think that he had a decent combine. He didn't blow it away like he said he would from his 40-yard dash, but the guy's a big guy, and he didn't weigh in at like 380 or didn't push over 370 or anything like that. He still needs to get his conditioning under wraps, and that is still the biggest question with him at defensive tackle. But let's go over to these defensive ends and kind of fly through some of these. And quite frankly, the defensive end position, everybody seemed to do very, very well. And you look at a lot of the people at the top, Jared Verse, Laiatu Latu, Chop Robinson, and then two people that really surprised me, Miles Cole and Cedric Johnson. We'll talk about those guys a little bit later, but Jared Verse, to me, showed everything that you want in defensive end one. He's my edge one, and just seeing him out there, you see the power that he plays with. He weighs in 254, 6'3", 254, and 4.6 40-yard dash. I think he was the third fastest defensive end. So he shows the speed that you want at the defensive end position. 35-inch vertical, 10.07 broad jump. Just absolute crazy athletic, very athletic, and just checks all the boxes, right? It's not like he's the ultimate top-tier defensive end athlete, but 9.39 RAS score, that's all that he needed to do. Showed why he is considered one of the best edges in this draft. But then Laiatu Latu, the question mark was, is he athletic enough? And also, obviously, the spinal injury. We don't have the injury report, so we don't know exactly what he ended up grading out, what people think about that. Maybe something leaks out a little bit, but on the field, he looked very good. Measured in at 6'4", 259, so slightly light, but runs a 4.64 40 time, very good. A 1.62 10-yard split, vertical of 32 inches, ultimately a RAS score of 919. So good athleticism, and seeing him out there, similar to Jared Verse, I would say a little tick down. I felt he's athletic, he kind of glides out there, and it didn't seem robotic. And that was the biggest fear when you have someone coming off of a neck injury. You don't want him to feel like he's a little bit robotic, if you will. So Latu, good. And then Chop Robinson, we said that he was going to dominate, and he did. 4.49 40 time, RAS score of 9.53, and his height 6'2", 254, so small. You know, we knew he was going to kind of measure in a little bit small, but really the explosive metrics, 34.5-inch vertical, over a 10-foot broad, very athletic, very explosive, and every drill he ran, the dude just ran with absolute just craziness to him. But the other two people that I just want to quickly mention, Miles Cole, defensive end out of Texas Tech. Yet again, we've seen what happens with a defensive end out of Texas Tech who's very athletic, scored as a 9.89. Someone that I don't even think I've even scouted this guy, and measures in 6'6", 278, runs a 4.69 40 time, and really just impressed me with the normal drills. Just someone who is super tall, super big, and is able to run this fluid. Just very, very impressive. 35-inch vertical jump and a 10-foot broad. Yet again, numbers very good. Just someone that I go, I kind of want to watch this guy's tape now. I want to watch more tape on this guy just to see what he's all about. And next one, Cedric Johnson, defensive end out of Mississippi. In the drills, I felt he was just very, very good. Runs a 4.64 40, 1.61 10-yard split. I believe that's 39-inch vertical. But yeah, ultimately, RAS score 9.63 and 6'3", 260. Just overall, turned some heads today. But let's talk about the last little bit before we end up going all this, right? I was going to tell you all Jared Verse, easy defensive end 1, and then Latu, defensive end 2, and then who cares about Dallas Turner? Until Dallas Turner went out there and showed why a lot of people have him as edge 1. He is very, very athletic, goes in, and Trevor Sikkema posted this, so there's no RAS score for him yet, because like I said, Math Bomb's been having some problems today, and his wingspan, 83 inches. That's the 89th percentile. I think he also measured in at like 6'2", so just the fact that he has like a 6'11 wingspan is nuts. 40-inch his 40-yard dash was 4.47, which is in the 98th percentile. His vertical jump, 40.5 inches. That's 97th percentile. And his broad jump, 10.7, which is 93rd percentile. This dude is just crazy explosive, tested with the linebackers as well, which I find very, very odd because linebackers are already quick and fast. So the fact that he's measuring in like this is just nuts. And maybe Sikkema pulled some of his edge numbers. I actually don't have that context to that tweet, but I got to just say, you just look at the numbers, crazy athleticism, because we know that's kind of his upside. I think when you look at Jared Verse and you look at Laiatu Latu and then you look at a Dallas Turner, I think Dallas Turner has the most upside because of that athletic profile, and he showed it right there. He's like, yeah, you want to see this athletic profile? This is it. And for those that watched, he just glided out there when he ran that 40 time. It was just very seamless. It literally seemed like he just went up there, put his hand in the dirt, ran. And that's what he did, because it just seemed simple. It seemed easy compared to other people running out there. Turner has that athletic upside. Latu has the best pass rush moves that I've really seen out of a prospect since like the Bosa brothers type of thing. And then you have the Jared Verse, who to me seems like the safest player out there. Always very good production, powerful, checks all the boxes for you. Just isn't that blue chip next level type of a player. But to me, he's going to be a good player. He's going to be good. So let me know, who's your defensive end 1? Because that to me is a big, big question. Also, if you're watching out there right now, you like the show, make sure to drop a like. It helps out the show tremendously. Also, make sure to subscribe so you do not miss an episode and a combine update. I hope you enjoyed it. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's a